What is up, guys? Charles, mXrevival, mXrevival.com, and I don't think today's video needs much of an explanation. Now, as you can see, I have a RMZ roller here, and if you can see through the open chassis, there's also an RM250 back there. So I think you guys all already know what's about to happen. I've wanted to do this for a really long time. I've been collecting parts for a couple years to do this. I absolutely love my RMZ 450, and of course, we all wish we could get that two-stroke in that modern chassis, and so I think it's time to do it. Not only that, but I don't think it's ever been easier. Not that this is easy. I've actually never built an AF. I've always wanted to, so I'm really excited to get this under my belt. But what I mean when I say easy is that the RMZ 250 chassis, this is a 250, actually has a really high Y cradle where the exhaust on a two-stroke would come out. I don't think you actually have to chop this frame. So that's a huge deal and lowers the barrier to entry tremendously, in my opinion. So a little background on what's going on. You guys know I like to keep my videos a little bit faster and not drone on with the talk, but I need to give you a little bit of backstory on what's going on here. A lot of you guys may remember I had a 2018 RMZ 450, ended up buying a 2020 RMZ 450 as well. You may have seen those in the shootout video where I take the bone stock 2020 against the 18 that had mods, and eventually I started swapping over my mods to the 2020, checking out those mods one at a time and then making videos on that as well. Well, it wasn't by any accident that I ended up with the 2020. A lot of guys go, why did you buy the same exact bike you already had? And there were a couple reasons for that. This is certainly one of them. So it went down a little bit like this. I had already spent plenty of money fixing the suspension on the RMZ 450 on the 18, got a really nice job done at Pro Circuit, sprung for my weight, extended shock bladder, lowering link, the whole shebang. I had also dropped the money on a Pro Circuit pipe, Thai carbon, really nice unit, FCP engine mounts, things like that. All the things to really make the bike feel better, and they're all the things that helped me fall in love with the bike. So my thinking was this: I would buy the 2020, I would move over all of my mods that I've already purchased for the 18 right onto the 2020, no problem. Then I'd have all these spare parts, right? Part two of the plan was this: part out the RMZ 450, the 2018, but not the whole bike, just the engine and the frame, the parts I didn't need. And so that's what I did. I vapor blasted the 2018 frame, sold it on eBay. I still have the engine, but when that engine sells, I will have effectively paid for the 2020 almost in full just from selling used parts from the 18. So it was a great way to get the AF thing started, have all the parts I needed to make a roller, and also pretty much pay for the new bike and not pay for any mods. So the whole thing was pretty heavily orchestrated all in all. Now in the meantime, about a year ago, I started looking for RMZ 250 parts, the 250 4-stroke, because of the Y cradle thing I mentioned earlier. I wanted to take all the leftover parts from the 18, gas tank, airbox, subframe, swing arm, wheels, all those things I had, find a 250 frame, which I did, and then of course, since I moved all the Pro Circuit goodies over from my 18 to the 20, I had leftover brand new 2020 fork and shock. So that's what you see behind me here. I finally got the 19 RMZ 250 frame, threw all of my 18 components onto that frame, plus the brand new suspension from the 2020 since I swapped the Pro Circuit stuff over, and here's where we are today. Now, having said that, I also own a 2004 and a 2006 RM250. My buddy Jim Hasseker at Hasseker Racing Engines and I have gone back and forth on this. Which one do we use? Do we use the 2004 or the 2006 power plant? And it's tough because they're both great bikes. The 06 engine's a little bit better, so on one hand, you want the better engine in this modern two-stroke, and then on the other hand, you feel sort of bad bastardizing and molesting the 06 and leaving it as a roller, in which case we would use the 04. The engine's still really good. 2004 was about the time the engines really started to shine in the RM250, and the 03 was no slouch either. It was the first year copied of a YZ250 cylinder. In any case, I don't have a lot of bad options. So back to the sourcing of the 250 parts. While I was going through the big move, you guys may remember I didn't have the shop for a little while. We had to cram everything into the shop trailer I built. I started looking on eBay because I needed more shit, right? Wrong, but here we are. I ended up finding a 2019 RMZ frame, subframe, swing arm, gas tank, radiators, and airbox, and I worked a deal with a really cool dude. Thank you, Mr. Anderson, who also owns Nackstar Wheels. Check him out. Ended up finding him on eBay, and he cut me an in-person deal at Paris Raceway track, actually. I met him there. $1,000 for everything. So I've been toting this stuff around in bins through the move, waiting for the day to do this. And honestly, right now is not really the time to do it either. I kept looking at the bins. We're finally finishing up moving in and thinking, don't touch the bins. Don't look at the bins. stay away from the bins. Do not even go near the bins. Yesterday I went near the bins, and now it's almost a moral obligation to continue at this point. All right, so that's a lot of blabbing out of me, but let's get down to business. As far as this conversion goes online, there's a little bit about it. There really isn't as much as I thought there'd be. You guys see on Instagram, dudes are swapping the KTM engine into this frame, making 250AFs, all sorts and kinds. But I want to keep this thing Suzuki for Suzuki. I want it to be a Suzuki purist's modern two-stroke. And another great thing about this whole deal is that using the 250Z frame, like I mentioned, has a really high Y cradle. And I think all we're going to be left to figure out is the fuel tank. We're going to have to plug up the area where there used to be a fuel pump and install a petcock, so I'll have something machined for that. We're going to have to use the radiators, which are probably going to be the 250Z radiators, turn the spigots a certain way to get all the hoses to mate up to the engine properly. We're going to need to make sure that the air boot and everything mounts up properly to the carburetor on the back of the RM250 engine. It seems like the rear of the engine is going to drop into the swing arm. Okay, the swing arm and frame main pivot point. It seems like that's okay. I don't know if I'm going to need to do any mods there. We're going to find out. After that, we need to make a couple custom engine mounts, find places to hide the ECU, things like that, make it all look tidy and clean. And who knows, maybe we'll even end up with a kit. I'm not sure, but I don't think there's ever been an easier time to do an AF build, especially with the Suzuki. So I'm really, really excited for this. I have dreamt of the day where I have a 250 two-stroke in the modern chassis that matches my 450, and this is as close as I've ever been to that. So today what I want to do is start with the 04 engine. We are going to start with the 04 engine, the RM250 engine, and try and weasel it into this thing just to get it all dialed in, just to get it running. That's where the build series is going to go for a little while, just so I can go out and eventually just put some laps on it. The reason I'm using the 04 right now is because I trust it. I've been inside of it. I've done a top end recently. I know the crank's tight. I know it runs. I know it's not going to blow up. But eventually what I will do is use the 06 engine. That way we have the best engine we could possibly have in the most modern chassis we could possibly have it in. And then I'll take the 04 engine back out, probably rebuild that, and maybe not rebuild my 04 and do another giveaway. If this YZ250 build and giveaway goes well, I probably will. That is what I want to do. Build bikes, get them to you guys, support charities. Anyways, I'm still bullshitting and rambling on. I'm full of caffeine. I'm super excited. I need to get that 04 engine out of the 04 RM250, and let's see if we can at least today drop that sucker into the back of the RMZ swing arm pivot and just see where we're at. You ready? Let's do it. Would you look at that cute little bundle of joy. Guys, these things are so easy to take apart. It never gets old. It's always super fun. All I have to do now is turn this sucker back into a roller so I can move it around the shop, not have it in a bunch of pieces all over the place in the way. And I think it's about time we try and snug this sucker into the Z chassis and just see how close it is right off the bat. I'm hoping those rear main pins are the same size, and knowing how production is on bikes, regardless of brand, they don't really spend any extra money if they don't have to. So hopefully it slides right in the back. That'll make everything so much easier. Let's check it out. All right guys, so I guess this is where the fun begins. As you can see, this guy's set up as a roller as well. It moves around the shop easy. It's just held up by the suspension. I just need to remove this pin, this rear swing arm main pin. See what happens when I try to drop this RM250 engine in. I cannot freaking wait. Let's do it. Yeah, okay, I just got really freaking excited. I can already tell that this is not going to be plug and play at all. So far, on the right side, I'm going to need a spacer. I'll show you in a minute, or something like that. So we'll see what happens when we throw the left side of the swing arm into the engine and the frame, and see if we get the proper spacing on the sprocket at least. Alright, so it's actually a little bit better than I thought. I got a little bit of bind, the engine's not perfectly straight in there. I'm not going to force it, and I actually didn't check yet to see if that pin is even the proper diameter. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Pretty pumped, as you might imagine, but it looks like the engine needs to go a little bit to this side here to get the proper sprocket alignment for the chain. You can kind of see that in there. At any rate, it's really close, and man, so cool to see that sucker in there. So after taking a closer look, we're actually hitting right here, back of the clutch cover and the brake pedal return spring mount right here on the frame. So guys must clearance this when they do this mod. They probably do something, grind that away, maybe take a little material out of the frame. I'll figure it out, but right now I think that's the main reason I'm getting some bind, and the engine's a little bit twisted to the side in here. So I will check into that, and of course, you guys will be with me the entire ride. Alright guys, so there you have it. Not too bad for episode 1, I guess, right? As much as I tried to keep myself out of all those bins, I guess I'm still pretty excited that I tore into them after all. This is really cool, guys. Like, to have this thing done next to that 450 back there, have a match, that's just I cannot wait to get this dialed in. So I'll work on this as often as possible, in addition to, of course, the YZ250 build and giveaway that I'm doing for you guys. And then I got to pick back up on the Dirt Bike Mag CR500 too, as soon as parts finally start coming back in. But for my Suzuki diehards, this is for you guys. This is going to be such a killer build. Everything that happens along the way, I will keep you guys dialed in so you can try this yourself when I finally figure it out. And hopefully this will be a better resource for those of you who want to do it to the Suzuki, because like I said, there's plenty of pictures. They all look really cool, but I haven't actually seen a detailed thread. If you guys have, go ahead and drop it in the comments below. That would be awesome. Maybe it will help me. Any of you AF builders or experienced AF guys, go ahead and reach out if you can. If you have any tips for me, I'd love to hear them. And until next time, guys, don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. This is the RM250AF build. I will see you soon.